Hey guys, on today's episode, we have my good friend and national interventionist from Unicorn Sober Services, Katie Sanders. We talk about her personal recovery experience, but also what an interventionist truly does and maybe some misconceptions around that and that scary word. So tune in. It's a good one. Welcome to Impacting Recovery Uncensored. I'm your host, Sarah Pritchard. This is a podcast where we dive deep into the real, uncensored truths about addiction, recovery, and everything in between. No sugarcoating and no judgment, just honest conversations that can help lift up the solution. So let's get started. Today, I'm very happy. Our good friend and national interventionist, Katie Sanders, is here today. Hi, Katie.
Hi. Excited to be here.
I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. It's a trip. Okay, so today I want to jump into a lot of different things.
Sure.
But the first thing I really wanted to talk about to kind of kick it off is most everyone has heard this term interventionist.
Yep.
And maybe we've heard the word or seen the show on TV. I would love for you to talk to listeners about what an interventionist really does.
Okay.
And kind of how there might be some misconceptions there. And like you mentioned it earlier, it can be a scary word.
Yep. Yeah, it totally is a scary word. I mean, I don't even like using the word interventionist.
Yeah.
And replace it with whatever word you want. If you are coming to me and the solution of, hey, something needs to be done for our loved one, if the time is here and you've been connected to me or been connected to a treatment center like Impact, then I want listeners to think of the word as intervening on the family system, taking a break from what we're currently doing because what we're currently doing, it just isn't working.
Right.
And I tell my clients, hey, whatever makes you feel okay, you can use the word family coach if you want, because that's all I am.
Yeah.
I'm coaching you through a process that is known as being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And we can do hard things for the people that we love. And we can be uncomfortable, but it is really nice to have someone walk you through it. Because I, as a family coach and interventionist, I can be your cheerleader and kind of take away the doubts in your mind or the feelings of, a lot of times the family members have feelings of guilt.
Yes.
Or they don't want to hurt the feelings of their loved one. And I can just dispel kind of those ideas and make you feel a little bit better about the process. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't even recommend watching the show. I mean, I love the show. Listen, in my active addiction, that was all that I was watching. I really was. But the show, it can be scary, and they're taking cases that are, very extreme.
Right.
And what I see the show, and they do a good job, but what I see the show doing is really building up this moment, like the day of the intervention. And from my perspective and my experience, that's not what it's about.
Right.
The day of the intervention is not what it's about. It's about me coaching you through a process to bring you in, the family, into the world of recovery, which I love.
Yeah.
And coaching that family and really giving the family some relief. I was talking to a woman yesterday with her son, and I said, listen, I know that this can be a really scary time for you. I understand this, and I know you really don't want to do this or be here in this moment, but let me help give you some relief about what's going to happen.
Right. Because I think families are so focused on the person that's in active addiction.
Right.
They're not even thinking like, I need relief.
No.
They're just like, I need to get my son safe. I need to get my daughter safe, my husband.
Right.
So, and you're right. Like the show, I didn't watch a lot of it because it's scary. And I'm like, this is sad. This is.
I know.
And it is very tough cases. And they're, some of them do have
it's TV.
Happy endings.
It's TV.
Right. So, yeah.
Listen, everybody wants to concentrate on that day, and I'm not even worried about that day because when we get to the day when we offer the gift to the loved one to go to a place like Impact to get the help that they need, I've already been working with the family ahead of time and telling them about the disease of alcoholism or addiction and breaking it down for them, because most people coming into this situation, they have no clue. No clue what's going on. I mean, starting from ground zero. And we talked earlier this morning about alcoholism and addiction it's a soul sickness. And that's how I can get down with the disease concept. Right. It's also chronic because it keeps coming back unless we get to the solution to our disease.
Yeah.
And so we've got this disease that we're trying to address. Most families still consider their loved one to be making a choice about whether they're drinking or they're using.
Right.
And I want to let them know that, oh my gosh, that this isn't a choice for your loved one. And let's get the armor so we can go out and fight appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how you said we're giving them the gift of going to get help.
It's totally a gift.
It is absolutely a gift.
It's absolutely a gift. Now the alcoholic like myself, I did not think it was a gift.
Right.
And that's okay. And the other thing that I let the families know is I am willing to step on toes rather than step on graves.
Yeah.
I'm willing to hurt feelings. Your feelings are going to be hurt anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Not many people on their own journey. Really, even I didn't even want to stop drinking at the end, which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it's like the families, most people have not gone through this. And even if they have, they probably don't know maybe the best ways to navigate because the feelings are involved and you don't want to hurt the feelings of your loved one. And everybody's terrified. Right. And it's just like chaos.
We're walking on eggshells all the time and everybody's neurotic and everybody's wound up and no one knows what to do. But there are people like me, like you, that can come in and kind of be the director of the process. But the intervention day, listen, the alcoholic, the addict, all on that day, they're simply making a choice. Are they going to accept the gift that is being offered to them? And it's cool if they don't. But if they do not, then some things are going to change on behalf of the family members, and we're talking about boundaries.
Yeah.
And boundaries aren't there to punish the alcoholic or the addict. They're there to protect the loved ones financially and emotionally from the harm that is continuing to happen because the disease has so much power.
Yes.
We're taking power back.
Yeah.
In this process.
Yeah.
We're taking power back.
Yes. That is amazing because I just think so many people out there don't even have a clue that I'm going to get some help, like as the mother or as the wife. And again, like I said, I think most people don't even know they need it.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you educate the family that this is a family disease and family members will say, well, I don't drink and I don't drug. That's not what I'm talking about. The disease of addiction affects the spiritual health, the emotional health, the physical health of the family members. So no, you are affected by the disease. Yeah. It is a family disease and everyone is affected. So everyone needs relief and there is relief on both sides. Yeah. At the same time, for me to have a really successful intervention and process with the family, I really need the family to surrender.
Yeah.
And take directions and take suggestions and know that they don't know and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you ever have families or times when maybe family members have opposing views on how things want to be handled?
Yes, and it's important that we all get on the same page.
Yeah.
And so all I ask for in the beginning is just spend an hour with me. And let's talk about reasons why you may be hesitant to your loved one getting help or resources or not giving resources to help your loved one get better, but you're still giving resources to allow the addiction to prosper. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
Right.
Well, and we had Tanner, a member on our team. He
Love
was
Tanner.
on here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how, his mom was still paying his bills
Right.
and all these things. And he said she about loved me to death.
Sure. So this disease that I have, I'm a recovered alcoholic and addict. The disease that I have is a disease of insanity.
Mm-hmm.
It is a soul sickness, and it makes me absolutely delusional. Well, the same thing happens on the family side. And the sicker that the alcoholic and the addict get, actually the sicker the family gets, and the family becomes more delusional, throwing more money at the situation, or the other thing is they talk the person to death, to their blue in the face.
Yeah.
And I try to tell families that the talking is not going to do anything because I'm delusional as the alcoholic. And so we've got to stop talking and start making some decisions to change how I'm interacting with the alcoholic and the addict. And again, it's all these things are not to punish.
Yeah.
It's to create a trajectory going down another path. And the question always remains is, okay, so is what you are doing now working?
Right.
And the answer 99% of the time is no, because
Yes.
if you're talking to me, it's not working. And
Right.
that's great.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm not going to make you feel bad about it. I think it's wonderful. Surrender.
Yeah.
Both sides. I don't know what I'm doing. The alcoholic will come to a point of surrender, hopefully, too. I don't know what I'm doing. And the magic words, I need help.
Yeah.
I need help.
Yeah. And something you said just made me think of in our book, there's
Yep.
a point where it talks about as addicts and alcoholics, we burn up energy foolishly.
Yep.
But this also goes for the family.
Right.
They are trying, but when you're saying they're talking but they're talking to somebody who's insane.
Right.
So really it's just draining their own energy.
Correct.
Because it's not going to land with the addict or alcoholic who has an insane mind. You're trying to reason with someone who's completely unreasonable and incapable of being reasonable.
Completely burning up energy foolishly. And it's not that they mean to do this. They literally do not know what they're fighting.
Yes.
And so just as if you had cancer or another, disease, another chronic illness, I'm not going to go into a situation if my loved one has cancer. I'm not going to try to figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know what I'm doing.
Right.
But yet with addiction, it is different.
Yeah.
And so they try the very best that they can, and then they realize that it's getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so why not, bring in a professional that can kind of help you through? I mean, it's very important to me when I work with families to explain the disease that we're fighting.
Yes.
It's a threefold illness. We have an allergy of the body, we have a mental obsession, and we have a spiritual sickness.
Yeah.
And when I explain that, the light bulbs, they come on. They go, oh my gosh, they never had a shot.
Yeah.
And I said, no, they didn't. But they do. They actually do have a shot, just as I did.
Yeah.
And once I understood, I go, oh, okay, now the keys are unlocking.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and okay, so you mentioned just as you understood.
Yes.
So why did you want to get into this work? Like how did that come about?
Well, I got sober.
Mm-hmm.
And I started working in treatment, and I was working in the trenches.
Yes.
in detox.
Yes.
And it's very difficult work. It's the sickest of the sick.
Right.
And it was great because it set me up for I call them the frequent flyers in detox, the ones that come in and they think, oh, I've done detox, things are going to change. And then they walk out the door and they're drinking minutes later, or they're using, and then they come back in and I've seen them over and over and over again. And when you work in treatment, you have to work with the families.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got really good at being, I'm very direct.
Yes.
I'm very direct,
Yes.
but I'm also light about it all. Like I kind of want to laugh at the insanity.
Yeah.
And so I'm breaking down that we're at a crossroads here, a jumping off point. And the window of opportunity to work with the addict and the alcoholic, the moment of surrender, both on the family side and on the alcoholic side, is very small. And I believe that there's hope for everyone, but I also know from experience that the window of opportunity gets smaller and smaller the longer the disease progresses.
Yeah.
And I just got really good at saying the hard things to the family members and not getting, I know that sometimes they may find my direction maybe a little tough to hear.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Because we've got people dying out here.
Right.
And we're in a life and death point of the disease. And I just don't have any time to waste.
Yeah.
And I got really good at it, Sarah. That's all I can say.
No, you got great at it. You have such a gift. And you had the way you deliver it. Yes, it's direct, but you have a way of it's so comforting. And like not scary at all, this interventionist term or whatever.
Good.
So
yeah. I'm trying to make it a big deal, but not make it a big deal.
Yes.
Just, and here's where my interventions are really successful. And overall, just when you work with a family coach, when you work with an interventionist, there's about an 80% success rate. And the reason why is because you've got someone that's directing the show and telling people, no, we're not going to do that, or yes. And if the family members can follow instruction, the success of the alcoholic addict going to treatment is very high.
Yeah.
And in terms of, I'm a professional, and so I do get paid to do this, but I'd much rather get the expenses done proactively than retroactively with the lawyers and the hospital bills. Right. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's inexpensive. It's relatively inexpensive compared to what can happen on the back end.
Yes.
So don't give me that thing about we can't afford. No, you're going to pay for it one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you were working in detox and you were having the hard conversations.
I was having the hard conversations, being direct.
And so what made you pivot?
I knew that there were more people that I could get to on a more personal level, because I cannot direct the family to the tools and the resources that I think are the solution to both the family disease and the alcoholic's disease, and the amount of time that I was working in detox. It's just not possible.
No.
And so when we think about the term intervention, I'm intervening on the family, and I'm getting the family hooked up with the resources to help them be happy, joyous, and free, no matter what the alcoholic addict chooses to do. Because the sickest line I've ever heard is, "You're only as happy as your saddest child."
Oh no!
Yeah. And have you not ever heard that?
No.
Oh yeah. It's a very codependent statement out there that I don't believe has to be the case at all. Like, you don't have to live like that.
Yeah.
If you are up at night with your head unable to go to sleep, you cannot get a moment's sleep. You've got ulcers. You're going into the hospital with chronic pain.
Yeah.
Like, something is wrong.
Yes.
And you don't have to live like that.
Yeah.
You really don't.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
I know.
Okay. So before all this, what did your life look like before recovery?
Oh my gosh. It was really sad.
Yeah.
I was so sick. So, I had my first drink around the age of, I think, 13 or 14. And this doesn't have to be the experience for every alcoholic, but it was for me. The moment I had the alcohol, I wanted the entire bottle, because the feeling that I got was that the pressure was relieved.
Yeah.
Whatever that kettle that I had internally, through nobody's fault, just maybe the way that I was made. When I took the drink, the pressure valve was released. And my fears were taken away, and everything was okay, and I was able to walk comfortably in the world. And so I wasn't a daily drinker in high school, but I did look forward to parties and, had some experiences. I got suspended from high school in my senior year, and that was really shocking to my parents, and they took me to, therapy, and they wanted to just get her fixed, get that done. And, it didn't solve any problem.
Mm-hmm.
No one knew what the disease was.
Right.
And so I went into college, and, the drinking progressed, but everybody around me was drinking. So I didn't think anything was wrong, but I would wind up doing things that, I just were not in line with my moral and philosophical values.
Yeah.
And I just thought I was a really bad person. And I could not even put together that when I drink alcohol, I do things that are not in line with what I believe.
Yeah.
And so later on, I think, in the text, it says that there's a line that says alcohol ceases to be a luxury and starts to become a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask most every alcoholic, you can kind of see like what age that is, or where was the line.
Yeah.
And mine was at 25.
Okay.
Mine was at 25, and I came back to work for my parents. I'm not a big fan of working in the family business if you're in recovery. That's just a personal experience. But I did that, and things were not going well. And you see, the thing with alcoholism is I only had one tool in the toolbox. I literally had no other tools.
Yeah.
And it's not that maybe I heard the tools.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to recall them.
And that one tool was alcohol.
The one tool was alcohol. And it worked really well.
It did.
Yeah. I mean, I had great times. It worked really well until it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so I also had chronic pain, some back issues. And then when you start mixing, the opiates and the alcohol, and it's not good.
Yeah.
And so I eventually had a doctor. He was a really good doctor for chronic pain. He was good. And he said, bad things happen to good people. And I said, well, how do you know I'm a good person? I was just being funny. He did not laugh. And it got progressively worse. And I was doing the things that drug addicts do, you know. I was running out of the prescription and buying, things off the street. And eventually things came crashing down. And I ended up going to, DFAX was called on me.
Okay.
And not through anything that I'm doing with my child, but I was acting really insane, and a doctor decided to call DFAX on me.
Yeah.
And that was unfortunate, but it did get me to ask for help, and the cat was out of the bag. And that was around the age of 32.
Okay. How old was your son at that time?
I think he was like 5 years old, and he was all right. But, I wasn't able to mother properly because, see, when I drink, I'm unable to take care of things. I can't take care of plants or animals, much less children.
Right. And I would go ahead and, I see you with your son.
Yeah.
And I know, so I assume you loved your son when he was 5 years old.
I sure did.
And
I absolutely did. I totally wanted to choose spending time with him over the drink, but I could not do that.
Yeah.
And that is the powerlessness.
Right.
And everything in my being wanted to spend time with my son and I wanted to go play horse, but I could only get to HO.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to read him stories at night, which I did not do, but it was more pressing. The obsession of the drink was just more powerful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important to point out because we hear it all the time. Yeah. He's choosing drugs over his family.
I did not have a choice.
No.
I did not have a choice. And it's okay. Like, I'm so grateful to be a recovered alcoholic. If someone were to give me a pill right now to take away all the bottoms that I had and to be able to drink like a normal person, I absolutely would not do it. The life that I have now as a recovered alcoholic is, I feel sorry for the non-alcoholics out there. I really do. I cannot help it. And I'll tell you that to your face. Like, I feel sorry for you. Because what I have in the spiritual program that I have and the recovery circles that I have, oh my gosh, it's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it is. And so, DFAX called, and then what? And then you went to treatment?
Well, the cat's out of the bag, right?
Yeah.
And I called my stepmother, who I adore, and I said, oh boy, I've got a problem.
Yeah.
I got a problem like they didn't know. And I had been watching Intervention. That's all I did was watch Intervention. So I thought I knew the places to go. But here's what happened. I said, hey, stepmom, I'll go anywhere you want me to go because I know I have a problem with drugs. But I am not doing anything that's 12-step related.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, thank you. Alcohol that's not the issue, but using drugs is, but alcohol's not the issue.
Right.
I meant that.
Yeah.
Hook me up to the lie detector test. I truly believe that. And so I know you wanted to ask me about this. I went to a place and that my wonderful stepmom researched how to get off opioids without using a 12-step method. And that's what Katie's Self-Will does. I go to this place. It was Scientology related.
Yes, this is what I want to know about.
It was wild.
Yeah, your experience there for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, have you ever seen the documentary on A&E about Scientology?
Yes.
Well, so I know it was crazy. This is what this is what happens when Katie thinks she knows what she's doing.
Right.
I knew nothing. And so I went there and it was wild. It was like one flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Yeah.
And I was there for about 45 days and there were different phases that I had to pass. And the last phase, I called it being a prisoner of war. Those words might be a little harsh. But it was not the recovery that I'm used to. And I was there and a car was sent for me to kind of escape out of there. I will say the one little detail is the third phase that I had to pass. I had to go and be in a sauna for 21 days, 8 hours a day, and they would load me up on niacin, 5,000 milligrams of niacin and all these herbal supplements. And when your body didn't react, then you could pass that stage. And I don't know how it happened because they were listening to the phone calls.
Yeah.
And someone, maybe I said, like, come get me.
Yeah.
And a car was sent for me and I got out of there. But here's the more important fact. That happened. That's fine. It was something else. And there must be a reason that I had to go through that experience. But the crazy thing is when I was in the car and I was headed to the airport, my only thought was, can I go to the gas station and get something to change the way that I feel?
Mm-hmm.
And when you understand what this disease is about, that it does not have to do with not using or drinking, then we can attack this problem for your loved one from an entirely different angle.
Yeah.
Because one would think after 45 days that I don't want any more alcohol.
Right. Or being a prisoner of war.
Right.
Like, this is not going to happen again.
I'm not going to do this again. I see the light. I see how my life was going.
Yeah.
And all I could think about was, can I please get something to make me feel better?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And
didn't you pack like a really nice coat?
oh my God, I wore my mink coat. I wore all my jewels. And oh my gosh, I was there. There was nobody there that needed to see my mink coat. And I don't know who I thought I was, but I remember bundling up with that mink coat because there was like no heat in the women's dorm.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Poor thing. Poor Katie.
Yeah. Well, at least you escaped.
I know.
Well, you know what? And maybe that was God being like, hey, you actually do need a 12-step program.
Right.
So let's go do that.
I give up. I surrender.
Yeah. And then so after that, you know, you drank at the gas station or whatever, but then when was the moment where it actually stuck?
Again, I have to go back to, if you do not know what you're fighting, you do not know what the solution is.
Yeah.
And I had a surgery and I got back on pain pills. And I told my stepmother, oh, there's not going to be any problem. I really believed there wasn't going to be any problem taking them again.
Yeah.
And the whole thing started all over again.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not understanding, because I really thought if I can get the alcohol cleared out of my system,
that's right,
I'll be able to get back to the way it was and drink like I could 5-7 years ago, you know, whenever.
And I think, honestly, because people ask me, oh, you just love to help people. Maybe I do. I'm sure I do. But my purpose, I think why God had me go through what I went through and being a recovered alcoholic is I'm here to properly arm people with the facts about this disease.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't do that, then we're not going to get anywhere.
No.
And I don't know who is saying, and thank God for places like Impact. That is why I love Impact so very much. That is why, so each of our kids get one rehab that is paid for. And the only place that the boys are going to go is Impact. And because I know that the work that you're doing is right in line with what the solution is. And I'm so grateful for places out there like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so how did you get exposed to the solution?
So I was out there for a number of years, and finally, I had two people that were willing to step on my toes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank God for them.
Yes.
And you know what they said is a little sober time ain't going to hurt anybody. And I said, oh, okay.
Except me.
Okay. I don't even know what that means.
Right.
And so I surrendered and I went to treatment. And this is the special story. So in treatment, I had a friend who said, listen, Katie, you're going to be asked to surrender. The big surrenders only a couple times in your life. And when you are asked to surrender, you're going to feel very uncomfortable. And you're definitely not going to want to do what is being asked of you. Every bone in your body is going to say, that's fine, I'll do this, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And when that time comes, you need to choose that thing that you don't want to do because it will dictate the outcome of your life. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this going to be? And so I was in treatment, and my therapist said, oh, so, because I was 39. Oh, so you think that you're leaving and just like going home after rehab? And I said, yes. Don't you know, I have this child and I have this business and I have this marriage that isn't going well. And my therapist said, hey, Katie, your child is being taken care of by your family. Your business is in bankruptcy and your marriage doesn't matter. So we want you to go to the next phase, which is called sober living. And I thought sober living was, being in, on the side of the street in a rundown
right.
flop house.
Yeah.
Again, Katie does not know what she's talking about, yeah. Right? And so I decided, I acquiesced, and I said, oh boy, this must be what my friend was talking about, the moment of surrender.
That's incredible.
It gets even better because they wanted me to go to the sober living in Mississippi, which was hours away from my family. And I really didn't want to do that. But here's what happened. I said, okay. And they did the intake phone call while I was in treatment. It fell through on their end for some reason. And a sober living was chosen for me in Atlanta where I lived. And so oftentimes when we surrender to God, we don't even know, we think we know what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah. And
God's like, oh, I just needed you to wave the white flag.
Yeah.
I'll make it even better for you.
Right.
And so I went into sober living. And while I was in the sober living, I was working a recovery program. I was developing my women's recovery network. And I started doing the work that it takes to get better.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for my whole experience. And I believe that in my short, I'd say 10 months in treatment, it gave me an actual trajectory of about 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
Of getting that relief from the mental obsession of alcoholism so much faster. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you mentioned a network of women in recovery.
Uh-huh.
One, how important is that? And then two, did you have a hard time finding women in recovery?
No, I didn't have a hard time finding women in recovery. I didn't want to make any friends in recovery.
Yeah.
Think about it. I'm coming from a disease which demands isolation.
Yeah.
It demands self-sufficiency. It demands being alone. It demands entitlement. It demands pride.
Yeah.
And then you're going to ask me to make friends, ask for help,
yes,
be with others. I didn't want to do it at all.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about treatment is you're forced to be in a community.
Right.
A community, when you ask an alcoholic, who is your support system? And they say family. I said, no, man, I don't want to family, unless you're an alcoholic or an addict in the family, that's not your support system.
Yeah.
Your support system are other people with this disease who have recovered.
Yeah.
And so I did not find a hard time finding the women. I had to really get uncomfortable to make the connections.
Yeah.
But people told me to do it, and so I had to do it.
Yeah.
And I did it. And, today, something that I go to a lot of meetings. I go to a lot of recovery meetings, not because the alcohol thing has been long gone. I go to meetings because those are my people now. That's my tribe. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that it does is it sets me up for accountability because I'm in the middle of my recovery circle. And if people don't see me, something's up.
Yeah.
And so I have to communicate with others like, hey, I'm going to Belize. I just got back from Belize. It was wonderful. But, hey, Jane, I'm going to Belize, so you won't see me. And they're like, oh, okay, have a good time.
Yeah.
But it's very important that I stay accountable with my women.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so how does your personal experience impact your work, or does it?
I think having the experience is vital.
Yeah.
Because what it allows me to do is speak honestly to the family about what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
When their loved one goes into treatment or when their loved one goes to the next phase, or how important it is that the loved one starts a journey of recovery. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are people that do this that don't have any personal experience, but I can only say that it's extremely valuable and people want to know. Yeah. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about my experiences, and what that does is it gives people relief.
Yeah.
I'm interested in relief.
Yes.
For both parties.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah. And I, it just is helpful when somebody is sharing their personal experience of like, hey, I know exactly what this looks like. We may not have the same consequences and story, but I can tell you exactly what's going to happen.
Right. Oh, I can tell you exactly what's going to be said.
Yeah.
In the family meeting when the loved one says they don't want to go to treatment. Yeah. It's just about five. It's 5 excuses. It's I don't have a problem. It is, I can do this another time, or I can't go because of business or family. Yeah. That's it. Well,
the job.
So that's like 3 or job, family, or I'm planting my flag and I'm not going. There doesn't even have to be a reason. Like, I'm not going with you.
Yeah,
and my response to them is, okay, not a problem. But so we as a family, we're going to have to change courses here. Mm-hmm. So you can do whatever you want, but we're going to start doing things differently. And I gosh darn guarantee you, Sarah, that remember I said we have about an 80% success rate on that day. Yeah. The other 20%, just give them about a week.
Right. They'll be back.
But please don't tell me that when the mom or the dad says, well, I can't stand to think of them being homeless. What are you talking about? They're probably living in an apartment that you paid for.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not. I mean,
Yeah, and I was talking about this the other day, how you're saying the person is like, I am not going.
I am not going.
And it's because it's such this negative idea of what treatment rehab is. God forbid we're going to rehab.
I know.
And so people are but it can actually be
I had such a good time.
An enjoyable experience.
I had a great time.
Most of them
I don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
But I had a great time.
Yeah. Most of them are not going to be Scientology where you're in a getaway car. Most of them can be pleasant experiences, and people are actually trying to help you.
Oh my gosh, when you go on the campus of Impact. I mean, my personal experience of going to the campus on Impact is a spiritual retreat. Are you kidding me? I mean, you sure you don't need one 45-year-old recovered alcoholic to come into your community and stay there for a while? Because it is fantastic.
Yeah.
It is such a gift. Here's why going to rehab or inpatient or treatment is tough for the alcoholic is because they're going to be uncomfortable, because the one tool in their toolbox that they've depended on their entire life that isn't even working anymore
Yes.
is going to be taken away. And that is very scary. And I'm not validating the fear around that.
Right.
But I will never go if I'm basing it off of fear.
Yeah.
And so the intervention is saying now's the time we've got to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I love interventions because we're bringing the bottom up. So maybe you don't have to go to jail. Maybe you don't have to lose all your money. Maybe you don't have to have your kid taken from you for a period of time.
Yeah.
Or maybe we can prevent reaching that bottom from whence one can't return.
Yeah.
Why not try?
Right.
Why? I mean, what could possibly, I know what could possibly happen if we don't do anything, because the outcome of my disease is jails, death, and institution, and there is no way around that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to scare anyone. That is just a fact.
No, that's the truth
of our disease.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so before we wrap up, is there any advice, or what advice would you give a family member trying to support their loved one?
Get into a recovery community of your own. You don't have to do this by yourself. As a matter of fact, if you do this by yourself, you're going to go more insane.
Yeah.
And you need other people that have gone down this road to tell you it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I need people. I love validation. I mean, I absolutely love it. And I need people to let me know that everything's going to be okay. The only action that we have to do is this for this 24-hour period, and then I can let go.
Yeah.
There is a God that loves us more than our parents ever could, but we forget that power's in control.
Yeah.
And so when the family member gets into recovery, then it gives space for that higher power to take control and make things happen.
Yes. I love that. And okay, so if somebody wanted to reach out to you, where can they find you?
So my business is Unicorn Sober Services, and I do transports, and I find treatment centers and I do a lot of family coaching, even after the intervention, which is really awesome. And of course, the interventions, and it's unicornsoberservices.com, or you can text me, call me, 470-330-1506. I'm pretty easy to get in touch with.
I don't know if a lot of people would just put their number out there.
I will. I know. I will do it.
That's why
it's okay. I don't care.
I know. That's why you're so special.
Whatever.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was so fun, and I learned so much just sitting here, and I get to talk to you a lot. And so I love to hear your perspective on everything. So thank you.
Well, it's nice to have somebody in the world of treatment that is absolutely doing the right thing for their clients and the families with the clients. So that's a special, special gift. Impact is a special place, and I like getting everybody there that I can.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in today to this episode. I hope you found this conversation inspiring and maybe opened your mind, maybe even your heart. But remember, you're not alone. And don't forget to subscribe and like. We will have all of our social media links in the description below. I will also have Katie's link in there as well if you want to reach out to her. But until then, keep making an impact. Bye, y'all.
Bye.